Hello, welcome to my channel. Before proceeding to study, please subscribe to my channel. Today, we will explore the fascinating world of game theory with engineering applications. We'll dive into key concepts like design process, iterative design, commissions, design and testing of the board game. Let's get started. Slide 1. Introduction to the design process. The design process is a structured approach used to develop games, ensuring they are engaging, functional, and well-balanced. It involves multiple stages, from conceptualization to final implementation. Key stages in the design process. 1. Concept development, identifying the core idea and objectives of the game. 2. Mechanics definition, deciding on rules, interactions, and player actions. 3. Prototyping, creating a rough version of the game for testing. 4. Testing and feedback, gathering user input to refine gameplay. 5. Iteration and improvement, adjusting elements based on testing results. 6. Finalization, completing the game for release. Example: in developing a board game for learning programming, the design process ensures that the rules effectively teach coding concepts while keeping the game engaging. Slide 2. Iterative design. Iterative design is an approach where a game is repeatedly tested, evaluated, and improved before finalization. Instead of designing everything at once, designers create multiple versions, each better than the previous one. Key aspects of iterative design. 1. Playtesting, regular testing to identify issues. 2. Feedback loops, continuous improvements based on player feedback. 3. Prototyping cycles, rapid changes to refine mechanics. 4. Balancing, ensuring fair and enjoyable gameplay. 5. User-centered approach, prioritizing the player experience. 6. Adaptability, making necessary changes without reworking the entire design. 7. Efficiency, saves time by avoiding large-scale failures later. Example: in digital game development, early beta versions help developers refine mechanics and fix issues before launching a final version. Slide 3. Commissions in game development. In game design, commissions refer to projects where developers create a game for a specific client or purpose. These are often seen in educational, corporate, or promotional games. Key points about commissions. 1. Client requirements, games must align with the client's goals. 2. Customization, unique mechanics, themes, or branding may be required. 3. Budget constraints, limited resources affect game complexity. 4. Development timeline, strict deadlines must be met. 5. Target audience consideration, games must be engaging for the intended users. 6. Legal and licensing issues, intellectual property and contracts are crucial. 7. Testing and approval, the client must approve the final product. Example: a company may commission a game that teaches employees cybersecurity awareness. Slide 4. Designing a board game. In this slide, we will walk through the key steps involved in designing a board game. Each step is essential to ensure the game is engaging, balanced, and enjoyable for players. 1. Theme selection. The first step is to establish the game's story or context. This is the overall narrative or environment in which the game takes place. A compelling theme helps immerse players and sets the tone for the entire game. Example: in Monopoly, the theme is property trading and wealth accumulation, creating a competitive economic experience. 2. Mechanics development. This step involves defining how the game works, including rules, player actions, movement, and interactions. Mechanics dictate what players can do and how they achieve victory. Example: in Monopoly, mechanics include rolling dice to move around the board, buying properties, and collecting rent. 3. Board and component design. This focuses on designing the physical layout, the game board, cards, tokens, and other pieces. Both functionality and aesthetic appeal are critical to enhance the player's experience. Example: Monopoly's board is divided into properties, utility spaces, and chance cards, providing both structure and visual clarity. 4. Prototype testing. This stage involves creating an early version of the game and testing various layouts, mechanics, and rules. It allows designers to identify issues and improve functionality. Example: designers might test how frequently players land on key spaces and adjust board size or dice mechanics accordingly. 5. Refinement. After initial testing, the game is adjusted to ensure balance, fairness, and fun. This often involves fine-tuning game mechanics and simplifying complex rules. Example: if one player consistently wins, designers may adjust starting resources or game pacing to create fairer outcomes. 6. Finalization. In this step, the game is prepared for production and distribution. This includes polishing artwork, writing clear instructions, and ensuring components meet quality standards. Example: Monopoly's finalization involved branding, creating iconic pieces like the car token, and balancing game duration. 7. Example: as mentioned, Monopoly is a classic example. Its design blends property acquisition and chance-based events, offering both strategy and unpredictability. 8. Significance. A well-structured board game design ensures smooth gameplay and engagement. Without a proper design process, the game may feel unbalanced, confusing, or frustrating. Slide 5. Testing the board game. Once a board game is designed, testing is critical to ensure that it is balanced, enjoyable, and free of major issues. This stage helps identify flaws and improve the player's experience. 1. Playtesting. This involves observing players as they interact with the game in a natural setting. The goal is to identify areas where players struggle or lose interest. Example: during playtests, if players find a rule confusing or too complex, it can be revised for clarity. 2. Balancing tests. This type of testing focuses on ensuring fairness across all players. Designers examine if any strategy, character, or mechanic gives an unfair advantage. Example: in a racing board game, adjusting dice probabilities can prevent one player from having an unbeatable lead. 3. Usability testing. This checks whether instructions are clear, components are easy to use, and players understand how to progress. Clear instructions are essential for a positive player experience. Example: if players misinterpret a rule due to vague wording, the instruction manual needs to be revised. 4. Stress testing. This involves extensive gameplay to find any unexpected issues or game-breaking strategies. It ensures the game holds up under repeated and varied use. Example: running long play sessions can reveal if a game becomes repetitive or too easy after multiple plays. 5. Feedback implementation. After collecting data from playtests, designers use this feedback to refine and improve the game. This iterative process continues until the game is polished. Example: if players find a certain mechanic too slow, it can be streamlined to improve the game's pacing. 6. Example: in a racing board game, designers might test and adjust dice rolls to prevent one player from dominating while keeping the game competitive for others. 7. Significance. Thorough testing ensures the game is enjoyable, balanced, and free of major flaws before it is released to the public. Without proper testing, even the most creative game designs can fail due to poor execution or frustrating mechanics.